You're listening to the Mastering Money in Midlife podcast, episode 17, Processing Emotions.
Welcome to Mastering Money in Midlife, a podcast for midlife women in business to overcome financial anxiety and make more money without burning out or sacrificing their families. Join certified life and money coach Debbie Sasson as she shares practical business strategies and mindset shifts that help you dissolve the money blocks that keep you stuck in a cycle of under-earning and under-saving, sabotage the growth of your business, and prevent you from building the wealth that you desire.
Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of processing emotions. I decided to choose this topic today because when I'm recording this podcast on March 1st, we are 1 week into the war in Ukraine. About a week ago, the Russians invaded Ukraine, and we've all been following the news. And by the time this podcast actually drops, I don't know what the outcome of this Russian invasion of Ukraine will be. I don't know if the country Ukraine will still be in existence as I know it today, as we all knew it a month ago and a year ago and 2 years ago. We can't control the outcome of that. What I do know is there are a lot of intense emotions that people are feeling. I'm feeling them sitting in my very safe home in Israel. At least I perceive it to be a safe home. We never really know what's going to happen. And for many of us, we look at the news reports, we watch what's happening on social media. We might know people in Ukraine. I personally don't. We might know people who know people in Ukraine, and I do know people who have relatives and family members and people that they work with in Ukraine, or people that originally were born there and have moved out of Ukraine. But whatever the situation is, it's a lot of intensity in the world. And you and I, most probably you and I, sitting in our homes in safe places, we cannot control the outcome. And I wanted to give you and me an opportunity to allow whatever you're feeling to exist, to be acknowledged and recognized. And for many of us, allowing us to feel what we're feeling is the first step to progress. And it also connects very deeply with money because money can be very emotionally triggering. And when we're thinking about wars that are outside of us, wars that are close to home, or anything to do with money and fights over money, arguments within a family, and if you have your business and you're worried about your income this month and how you're going to pay your bills, or you have a launch coming up and you feel a lot of stress and tension, will you make your numbers? Will you enroll the number of people that you want? Will you be able to have that income, achieve that income goal that you were dreaming about? It is really important, critical even, to learn how to allow your emotions to be there and how to allow them to move through you, to process through you so that they don't stop you in your tracks and so that you don't end up stuck. The first thing that I would like to share with you is what happened to me personally 10 months ago. There was a different war at that time in May 2021 in Israel. There were missiles being aimed at Israel from the Gaza Strip, and it was a very stressful, tense time for all of us living in Israel. Where my home is situated, I happen to be very fortunate in that most of the time it is a pretty safe place, but we're a very teeny tiny country. For those of you who are listening and don't know the map of Israel, we are about the size of New Jersey, if you look at the map of the United States. And we're all very close here. And there was a lot of intense emotions coming up for me and also being very concerned and worried about all of my brothers and sisters here in Israel. We are really like one small family, and feeling strongly the unfairness of the situation and how could they and why are they, and the people who were targeting us. And I found it very difficult to focus on my work. And if I was in a client session, I could mostly focus on the client session. But because emotions are what they are, and we're not always well equipped to be able to process them, it was very important for me to process them. And I'm going to share with you what happened to me. I mean, I worked through my emotions with a coach, and give you the opportunity to learn a technique that may work for you. And I'm also going to let you know from the outset that oftentimes, if you're not familiar with how to process emotions, especially in the beginning, your mind will wander. It will want to finish it up quickly. It'll want to get beyond the hard work. And so working through your emotions with a coach or a healer, someone who can hold space for you in all of your emotional intensity, can be very, very useful. So at that time, I brought my feelings and my deeply felt emotions to my coach, and she just let me talk about everything that I was feeling, that I just shared with you, my worry, my anger, my frustration, really thinking that it was unfair and how could they and why are they targeting us. And then we just found where all of the emotions were in my body. And now 10 months later, I don't really remember where the emotions were starting, but she just held quiet space for me. And I invite you to do this for yourself with any emotions that you're feeling. It can be anger at someone, anger at yourself. It can be sadness, frustration, feeling annoyed, feeling scared, right? If you're running a business, so much of what we do in our business from day to day to stretch beyond our comfort zone is going to feel scary. And we're worried about failure, worried about judgment from other people, criticism, rejection, and you're going to resist doing that. It's the way your brain has been wired to protect you from outside attack. And it's very normal. And we want to normalize those intense emotions and give yourself the space to just find where that emotion is in your body. For some people, it'll be in their stomach, and they'll feel like a lot of tension in their stomach. Sometimes people will feel that tension in their chest radiating up to their throat, or it could be in your neck. You might feel a lot of pain. And I invite you, whenever you're feeling something really deeply intense, to just close your eyes, sit in a chair with your feet on the floor, or maybe you'll sit on a bed with your legs crossed, and just breathe into the feeling. And that's what my coach invited me to do. And it's something that I've done before with other people, but at that time it was just so strong. And do it for yourself or do it with someone else, a professional. And I was just breathing into the feeling and following it as it moved through my body, and just breathing in and breathing out. And it was quiet. I said nothing. My coach said nothing. It was maybe 5 minutes or maybe 10 minutes of just breathing and allowing myself to really focus on what I was feeling, noticing the sensations in my body. And I don't remember anymore today if the sensations were vibrating or whether they were whirling around or they felt like an electric intensity. And these are some words that you might feel or notice if you're focusing on what's happening inside your body. And sometimes that energy can be like cold and stuck, that negative energy that you're feeling. But what I did notice as I was breathing into this thing, that's almost the way that I would describe it. It was just like this emotion in my body, that it moved up through my chest into my throat. At one point I felt my mouth opening, and I felt this like really this glob almost in the palate of my mouth. It was like forcing my mouth open, and then the emotions released themselves. They just moved outside of me into the air. And that was how the negative emotion moved through me. And it was fascinating because it was about 2 or 3 or 4 hours later. It wasn't a lot longer. I mean, I did just sit after the coaching session, and I spent time with myself, and I drank a lot of water, because whenever there's energy moving through your body, water does help to clear your energy system. And all of a sudden, a few hours later, I felt extremely energized. Like where I couldn't focus before, I could be hyper-focused and hyper-vigilant, and I was able to get a lot of work done because I'd spent just a few short minutes. Really, if you compare what I was able to get done in my productivity later on that day, the next day, with the amount of time that in previous days I had been caught up and entangled with all of these emotions. And then I sat and I let them move through me. And really, it just released an incredible tidal wave almost of energetic emotions where I was able to focus and do things. So that's what I'm offering you, is the opportunity to sit with yourself and not feel rushed, but really just focus on your emotions. Sometimes it's very helpful to imagine yourself taking a marker or a Sharpie pen and outlining the emotions in your body, because it helps you in your mind to focus on them and see where they are. And then you can breathe into what you're feeling. Notice the color of what you're feeling. Notice if it's warm or if it's cold, but allow yourself to be human and to feel your emotions. And I have a suspicion that today, in our very industrialized way of working, we have become less capable of processing our emotions. Like if we just turn our clocks back 100, 200 years, we were physically very active. We have these days a lot of electric gadgets and machines and appliances in our homes, like washing machines and dishwashers, right, that do so many of our household activities for us. But going down to the river to wash our clothes and scrub things, on a washing stone, and kneading bread by hand. I actually do knead bread by hand once a week when I make challah for our Shabbat. But our lives were so much more physically active than they are today, even going out and farming, working in the land, right? With the Industrial Revolution and the movement to cars and machines and the emphasis on productivity and go, work, work, work. And today, so many of us sit at our computers, we sit at desks, we don't move our bodies. And all of that energy that maybe once upon a time was able to move through us because we were naturally very, very physical, it just gets stuck inside our bodies. And we have to give it space to get out. And, physical activity, and I know people who do running or swimming or jogging, weightlifting, spinning on a bike, whatever it is. But when you are very physically active, it does give you an outlet for the stress, and it helps you process and move the stress through your body. And so whatever you're feeling, you can also just get up from your desk, put on some dance music and dance for 5 or 10 or 15 minutes, again, to move some energy through you. But let me just come back to the idea of allowing whatever you're feeling to be there and process through you. I want you to notice what you're feeling. Don't push it under the carpet. Don't resist it. Don't suppress it, because it will come back to nip you in the bud or in the butt, because it's still going to be there. All right. So let's get back to specific emotions that you might be feeling, negative emotions that you might be feeling when it comes to money. Scarcity, right? You're not going to have enough to pay your bills. You are worried that you are not going to make enough money in your business. And maybe you do have enough income from other sources, but this income goal that you have, or the amount of money that you want to make, is symbolic of your success. And you may have had a successful month in January or a successful month in February, but 1 week into March, you might be thinking, oh no, I haven't signed any new clients. What's going to happen? Or one of my clients was saying to me recently, right, they had a very successful month in February, but they were taking 10 days off in March for a vacation and to go to a family celebration. And her monkey mind was starting to get worried, even though she knew that, yeah, this is one of the beautiful benefits of being an entrepreneur is that I can take 10 days off whenever I want to fly overseas to participate in a family celebration. But still that monkey mind was worried, oh no, even thinking the February income was a fluke and it was never going to happen again. And her mind started racing. And these are the kinds of things we happen because we do need money. And we've talked about this on the podcast before. We need money to eat. We need money to have a roof over our heads. We need to pay for clothing, education for our children. It's important to put away money for your retirement. And if you want to take a summer holiday or a winter holiday, go to family celebrations, whatever it is, we need money. It's a core survival need that we have to have money at all different stages of our life. And so we can become very, very attached in the fine details of our income over 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. And it feels very much like death, right? Starvation, because that's the way your brain interprets it. So allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling and not make that a problem, right? Problems will arise when you start adding judgment on top of whatever you're feeling. So sometimes you might be feeling the anxiety and the stress and maybe nervous that you're not going to make your income goal or that you're not going to have enough money this month and you might have to take a loan or go into debt. And then your brain will start thinking, oh, maybe I'm not going to be successful. Maybe I shouldn't try to be a successful entrepreneur. Maybe everybody else is made for success. I'm not made for success. Who was I to think that I could make it also? I must have it all wrong. Maybe I'll just go get a job. Right? There are many entrepreneurs who at some point when things aren't going, think maybe I should go get a job. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't get a job. A lot of times having a steady income, even a part-time job, depending on where you are in your business growth, that can actually relieve a lot of stress from you just to know that you have a foundation underneath you. But if you have been successful for any point of time, but things do take a dip because businesses do have cycles, your brain will naturally want to solve for the problem that your brain sees immediately. Your brain doesn't see that there's an entire year of income or that you're on a trajectory of a 5-year growth plan and, hills and valleys are normal. And we've talked about this in previous podcasts about your brain looking for data points and creating a story out of very few data points. So just take a deep breath. Another very useful activity that you can do is to journal everything that's coming up in your mind. All of the garbage, all of the I'm worried and I'm scared and I'm frightened and I'm feeling anxious and maybe it's not going to work for me and who do I think I am and I'm not meant to be successful, right? That's just a lot of like pea soup in your brain. Right? So just get it out on paper where it's no longer you or part of you, but once it's on a piece of paper in black and white, you can now become a witness to your thoughts. And you'll just notice what's going on. You'll be like, oh, that's why I'm feeling so scared. That's why I'm feeling so anxious. That's why I'm worried. Oh, okay. And just recognize it, allow it, and you now have awareness of what's going on. And once that happens, you can decide if you agree with what's on the paper, if you even like what's on the paper. And I'm just going to caution you to not quickly try to change the thoughts that are coming up in your brain. Sometimes we can get judgmental and be like, oh, but really I should be grateful. I have so much going on for me. And gratitude is beautiful. It's a beautiful practice. But when we try to whitewash all of the negative thoughts and feelings, right? And quickly move into gratitude and appreciation. Like, really, here I am living in a safe country while there are wars going on outside, thousands of miles from me. Oh, really? I have so much to thankful for. Like, we're just dismissing the fact that we do have human brains and human emotions dealing with what we are dealing with today. And allow yourself to be you wherever you are. And then you can breathe through your emotions, process your emotions, as we talked about before. Another great exercise when you are feeling anxious is to just take breaths using the 4-4-4 technique, meaning you breathe in for a count of 4, you hold your breath for a count of 4, and then you exhale for a count of 4. And you just do that over and over and over again, maybe for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And that's also a great breathing technique to help you calm your nervous system. And the last technique that I love to use, especially on myself and with my clients, is EFT tapping, emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping. And if you go to my YouTube channel, there are several tapping videos on my YouTube channel, and there are even specific types of emotions that I've worked through, either in short, 6 or 10 minute clips. Also, there are even some longer webinars that you'll find on my YouTube channel. Once you have processed your emotions, whatever you're feeling, and allowed it, you might want to ask yourself, why is my brain even going to the negative? Right? We just want to get to the place of curiosity. And let's say, for example, you're halfway through the month and you haven't had any clients sign, or maybe you're usually halfway through the month, you've had $5,000 worth of income and your income goal is $10,000, but for some reason you've only had $1,000 of income halfway through the month, right? You'll be like, oh, my brain is really feeling scared because I'm halfway through the month and I'm not halfway to my goal. Oh, that could be why I'm feeling very nervous and very anxious and worried that I'm not going to make my income goal. So then let's go back to our data points and be a scientist about it, right? You can, depending on how long you've been in business, you can actually go and look over the history of your business. Have there ever been times when you were halfway through the month, but you were not near halfway towards meeting your goal? I sometimes love to go back and look at my numbers, and it's fascinating how I can have huge income on the 28th, 29th, 30th of the month. And our income doesn't have to be steady state the entire month, and you can still meet your goals. So just help yourself find evidence for how your business is already working, how the money in your life is already working. Of course we want to tweak. Of course we want to improve. Of course you want to serve more people and make more money. When you focus on what is already working, it also helps to calm your nervous system, right? It's very natural that your brain will want to avoid the pain, as we talked about already. Like, it feels like starvation, it feels like death, and your brain's not going to want to go there, but it will leave your body feeling very shaky, anxiety, and panicky. So help yourself to calm your brain down. And then once you have gone into that inquiry stage and gotten curious about why your brain might be doing it, then you can start reframing the situation and noticing what's happening. And then you can move into a more neutral or positive place with your thoughts. It's like, oh, even though I'm halfway through the month and I'm only 25% to meeting my income goal, it doesn't mean that anything's gone wrong and there's still a lot of time, right? Or even though I haven't signed a new client in 3 months, right? And that sometimes happens, right? There's still plenty of time, and there are people out in the world who want to work with me. And then you can just question what you can do today to show up and serve your people. Because I know that you're in business to serve people. You're here to make a difference. You're here to make an impact. You're here to make money for you and your family. And that money that you're earning and that you're bringing in is a reflection of the beautiful service you are providing the world. So whatever you're feeling, whether you're feeling down about the war that's happening outside of us, if you're feeling down about something that's in your business, you're perfectly normal. We're allowed to feel our emotions, and then just work on controlling what you can control today, which is processing what you're feeling like a human with natural human normal emotions, and then going back to work to serve your people, right? Don't get stuck in fear. Don't get stuck in anxiety, because there are people there who need you. And you want to be able to look back in a year from now and see how far you've come. You don't want to get stuck and stopped out now, because there is so much good and so much work for you to do in the world. So go and do that. All right. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you've had some insight in how you can process your emotions, and I look forward to seeing you next week on the podcast. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Mastering Money in Midlife. If you want more information on Debbie Sasson or the resources from the podcast, visit masteringmoneyinmidlife.com.